The Supreme Court is supposed to stand for justice, the final word on what's right under the Constitution. But sometimes that final word has caused generations of pain, from slavery to segregation, forced sterilization, and the loss of basic freedoms. These are the worst Supreme Court decisions in American history, and the moments when America finally tried to make them right. We start in 1857 with Dred Scott versus Sanford. The court declared that Black Americans were not citizens, and that enslaved people were property. Even worse, it ruled Congress couldn't ban slavery anywhere in the country. That decision tore the nation apart. It was a legal green light for slavery's expansion, and it helped ignite the Civil War. It took the 13th and 14th Amendments, passed after the war, to finally overturn Dred Scott and guarantee citizenship and freedom. In 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson made segregation the law of the land. The court ruled that separate but equal was constitutional, but in reality, nothing was equal. For nearly 60 years, Plessy justified Jim Crow laws, separate schools, buses, and neighborhoods for Black and white Americans. Finally, in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education overturned Plessy, declaring that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. Imagine the government deciding who deserves to have children. That's what happened in Buck versus Bell. The court upheld forced sterilization laws, allowing states to sterilize people labeled unfit. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote, "3 generations of imbeciles are enough." Tens of thousands of people, many poor, disabled, or minorities, were sterilized against their will. This one's hard to hear. Buck v. Bell has never been formally overturned. It's been rejected morally, but it still exists on paper as a legal scar. World War II. After Pearl Harbor, over 120,000 Japanese Americans, most U.S. citizens, were forced into internment camps. Fred Korematsu refused to go, and the Supreme Court said the government was right. Families lost homes, jobs, and dignity, all in the name of national security. Decades later, the U.S. government formally apologized, and in 2018, the Supreme Court stated that Korematsu was gravely wrong. It was symbolically overturned in Trump versus Hawaii. Sometimes the court sides with power over people. In Lochner v. New York, the court struck down a law limiting bakers to a 60-hour work week, claiming it violated the freedom of contract. That phrase became the shield for decades of anti-labor rulings, making it harder for states to protect workers. It was finally overturned during the New Deal by West Coast Hotel v. Parrish in 1937, restoring the government's ability to set fair labor laws. Fast forward to Shelby County v. Holder. In 2013, the court struck down part of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, removing oversight on states with histories of voter discrimination. Almost immediately, new laws appeared: voter ID restrictions, purges, and limits on early voting. This one hasn't been reversed. Congress has tried to restore those protections, but today, millions still face barriers to the ballot box. Then came Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, 2022. The case that overturned Roe v. Wade, ending nearly 50 years of federal protection for abortion rights. Roe had been decided in 1973, guaranteeing a woman's right to choose under the right to privacy. Dobbs ended that. It returned the issue to the states, and almost immediately, abortion bans swept across the country. For the first time in modern history, the Supreme Court removed a constitutional right that millions had lived under for half a century. None yet. Dobbs stands. But like Plessy or Dred Scott, history may one day judge it as one of the court's cruelest mistakes. When you look back, a pattern emerges. The court can lift a nation, or break it. It once legalized slavery, segregation, and eugenics. But it also later struck those evils down. It's a reminder that the Supreme Court doesn't just interpret laws, it shapes lives. And every generation must decide, will we accept injustice as the law, or demand something better? From Dred Scott to Dobbs, these rulings remind us that justice is not guaranteed. It has to be defended. Some of the court's worst decisions were later overturned because people refused to give up. If you believe in learning from history and holding power accountable, like this video, leave a comment, and if you like this kind of content, please subscribe for more.